It's official.
Mortal Kombat 1 is finally released and premium users have early access. I've been playing the game since it released, and I have completed the story mode by this point, but I don't think I'm ready to talk about it just yet. I need time to go over it all again, collect my thoughts, and articulate what I really want to say. So the only comments I'll make on it now is that my last video on Mortal 1 Kombat is severely outdated now. Thankfully so, I think. That's very much a net positive, and I know that is technically a spoiler, but well, cry about it. From this point on, I'll do my best not to reference story events or talk too in depth about the characters. Mostly, I just want to go over the game in broad strokes and give my initial impression from the perspective of someone who's been playing the game for almost a week, and as someone who was admittedly not looking forward to it after the monstrosity that was MK11 and its story. Mortal 1 Kombat is identical to its predecessors with gameplay. They've really hit their stride and adopted a if it ain't broke mentality. As always, it's a one-on-one, two-dimensional fighter with an added twist. The consumable cameo option in Mortal Kombat 11's towers that let you take a fighter into a fight with you and use their abilities is back as a central mechanic in this game. Whenever you choose a character, you have to choose a cameo to support them. They have a meter that shows how many charges of their specials you have access to, which equals out to about 2 if you use them back to back. Any forward directional grab will also have the cameo appear and perform the attack rather than you yourself. The cameo is also capable of performing finishers like brutalities. Every character has 2 fatalities and several brutalities, which are unlocked through character level ups. More on that later. Every character feels unique, but it once again suffers from the problem of the characters not playing the way they did in previous games. Once again, you have to completely relearn your main, something that's been going on for years, as far back as MK vs DC. So if you're a Scorpion main, looking forward to picking up where you left off, tough. They're all completely reworked. Some moves taken out, some left in, inputs for special moves changed, combos definitely changed, so nobody's the same as they were before, and you're going to have to relearn the characters, whoever you choose. On the plus side, every character is unique and interesting to play from my experience, and there's definitely something there for every kind of player as far as I'm concerned. One huge positive is the meter. In Mortal Kombat 11, the meter was divided into offensive and defensive, and automatically recharged itself. This took out a major strategical element, as you no longer had to worry about using up meter and then not having access to it later, since it would just refill by itself after each use. They brought it back to the way it's been in previous games, and that's definitely a mark in the game's favor. Unfortunately though, fatal blows are still here, and just as pace-breaking and annoying to sit through as ever, now including your cameo into said fatal blow to set up for the player character when you use it. It's obnoxious. It needs to be completely reworked as far as I'm concerned, or just cut outright. I can't speak much on the differences between characters, as the only one I've taken time to play extensively is Shao Kahn, as you may have guessed. But that's all I really have to say on the gameplay. The game looks incredible. NetherRealm stepped up with the visual quality of the game as you would expect them to. There's no uncanny valley effect as far as I can see, and every character and environment looks great. There's a definite issue with the optimization of the game on PC though that I hope they patch up soon. Every time I load into the game I have to sit through the shader compiling screen, and there were several times in the story where I had to wait for the transition from cutscene to pre-match animation. I didn't even know that could happen, and I know my PC specs are pretty outdated now. I'm running a GTX 1660 Ti graphics card, but if I can run Resident Evil 4 Remake with minimal issues, I don't know why this game is kicking my ass so hard.
You suck.
Fortunately, the game has an upscaling option to reduce the game's graphical fidelity for the sake of performance enhancements, and it still looks stunning, so I've got no problem playing it like this until either the optimization gets fixed or I upgrade my PC. The character designs are pretty good. Though the ninjas aren't as stylish as they used to be, their outfits are pretty basic looking compared to what we've seen in previous games. Not every design hits, and I know there's been quite a bit of controversy about the female combatants redesigns, so let me get this out of the way. I like them. The only one I still have something of an issue with is Tanya, though she's nowhere near as bad as she looked in that initial trailer. I don't blame anyone for getting upset with her redesign based on that. Trailers are there to give us a first impression, so that we can form our opinions on the material. So if anyone tells you not to judge the game until it releases, they're doing the exact same thing, just imposing positive expectations rather than negative ones. Anyway, Tanya looks good overall. I could do without the hairstyle, what the fuck even is that, but there's no bad designs here. In fact, I think this is the best Kitana has ever looked. She looks absolutely incredible incredible, and it makes me depressed because the only place we can go now is down. Xiao looks alright too. I still don't like the horns, and all of his alternatives don't even have a mask. I am begging for a classic themed skin as DLC or something. Please! The game is packed with things to unlock and stuff to do. There's the typical stuff you would expect, like artwork and background music. You can unlock these and enjoy them in the gallery. And there's also a shrine, which is basically the same as the shrine in MK11's crypt, where you can burn gold to unlock items. As far as I'm aware, that's the only real use for gold, too, which explains why it's harder to collect than in MK11. The amount of gameplay you put into M1K's modes, no matter which, will not net you nearly as much gold as MK11, which likely has to do with the fact that the shrine seems to be the only thing you can actually spend your gold on, and the amount is capped at 1k per use. In addition to that, there's also seasonal tokens that you can collect throughout your game that you can use in the seasonal store to collect the items if you're not able to unlock them in the invasion mode. Single player has 3 modes: story, invasion, and towers. Now, despite what you may be thinking, towers isn't anything like MK11's. It's more like the classic towers mode or the original MK games arcade modes. You get 3 difficulties: an endless tower and a survival tower. There's not much to say about this except it's the typical fighting game arcade mode you would expect, and yeah, the endings do return here. I wouldn't play towers until you've completed the story mode though, for spoiler's sake. Even just going into tower mode will spoil something about the game, so I'm not going to show it here. Story mode is what you've come to expect from NetherRealm at this point. It's divided into character-centric chapters, continuing the agonizing trend of the villains being impossible to take seriously as credible threats because they don't get chapters and thus can't win fights. But there's not much else I can talk about without getting into spoiler territory. And no, I don't think it's much of one to say no villains get chapters because the only ones that ever did was in MK11 Aftermath's DLC. Actually, I guess Kotal did get story chapters. Invasion mode is the real star here. Other than the online modes, the combat leagues, which do return, this is likely where most of your time playing this game alone will be spent. It's something of an adventure mode where you traverse the various key locations in the game, exploring them, and fighting enemies with specialized effects that can give either you or them an edge in combat. Combat modifiers make their return here, and if you're not a fan of them, they're here and nothing can be done. You can equip yourself with modifiers of your own in the form of talismans and relics that you can equip to your character of choice, each having different effects that play a role in each battle you fight. Talismans are consumed with each use and you'll have to recharge them at the forge. You can also find the collector at certain spots to purchase and sell items as well. This is probably the most interesting mode so far. Fighting game enthusiasts are bound to get a lot from this, whereas those who get bored of the repetition of fighting games quickly will probably not have as much fun since you'll basically just be fighting. The biggest things are survival mode spaces where you have to dodge projectiles, test your mites where you have to fill a meter to a certain point and then push the button at the right time, and secret fights and random ambushes you can encounter while traversing the mode. Invasions are seasonal and you can collect skins from the various boss fights scattered throughout. It's also the most efficient way to level up your character, as each now has a reward system for leveling up, sort of like Injustice 2's character level system. The difference being that the rewards you earn are fixed, and also exist for the cameo fighters. Such rewards include character skins, palette swaps, mid-match taunts, banner decorations, gear pieces, brutalities, and the character's second fatality. There's a few more types of rewards, but those are the most important ones that you can acquire. Speaking of gears and customization, it makes a return here and, unfortunately, leaves a lot to be desired compared to its predecessors. In Mortal Kombat 11, you had 3 different gear pieces you could customize and outfit swaps with various color palettes to choose from, as well as intro and outro customizations. Here, they do away with intros and outros entirely. The only things you can customize are a singular gear piece such as the ninja's masks or Xiao's axe, and the character's outfits along with their color schemes. It's very bare bones and an incredible letdown compared to the previous game, so that's a definite mark against it, even though some of the unlockable gears and skins are pretty cool. Mortal 1 combat is far from perfect, but it retains many of the aspects fans and critics have come to expect. Fun and engaging combat, a wealth of content to be enjoyed, and a cinematic story mode experience. Whatever you think of the content of the story, the presentation of it has always been out of this world, and that trend continues here. You're liable to get a lot of bang for your buck, even if you choose to abstain from the DLC, which, while I'm not okay with day 1 DLC practices, and I think once a game is released you shouldn't be expected to pay more for extra content, the game should be able to stand on its own, there's a lot lot to enjoy here without it. If you're a Mortal Kombat fan who's been enjoying the ride since Mortal Kombat 9, you're absolutely going to enjoy yourself here. If you're a PC player, consider there may be possible issues with the optimization, but there are workarounds that make the game mostly functional even with these issues. You're very likely to enjoy yourself with this game, whether you enjoy what NetherRealm has been doing with their story modes or not. Go check it out. I can't imagine you'll regret it. I'm having a great time. I'll probably be playing more once I'm done making this video. So overall, I would probably have to give it a 7 out of 10, the biggest marks against it being the structure of the story mode, refusing to evolve, and the absolutely neutered customization. So that's my final verdict, at least for now. Take care everyone, and see you in the next video. Can somebody just please tell me why they made Havoc look like a generic Jonas Brothers wannabe?
Outstanding.